everybody, it's Haley. Welcome back to the channel. Today we are going to be doing my quarter 1 wrap up, and I'm so excited to talk about all the books that I've read the first 3 months of this year. And I just can't believe how fast this year is going. I did not do monthly wrap ups for January, February, or March because I recently just started getting back into uploading on this channel. So I thought a Q1 wrap up would be perfect because we could talk about all of those books and it would just kind of like get back into the swing of everything. So overall, I thought perfect. Now, I did compile some different kind of like stats and things like that, which I will go over. I thought first I would just run through all the books I read, what I rated them, my kind of initial thoughts, and then we could go into kind of like my top, least favorite, goals for the upcoming quarter 2, things like that. So that's kind of where we're at right now, and I'm super excited to dive in and talk to you about them. So the first thing that I wanted to talk about was just my basic rundown of what I read. So 14 books is what I read for the first 3 months of the year, and it was 7 romance, 5 fantasy, 2 thrillers. And then I do have a little bit of a selection of books that I did as like soft DNFs. I did not actually hard DNF any books, but I did have 4 that I set aside and soft DNF for later because I'm trying to not force myself to plow through a book if I'm not feeling it in the moment. And so I will include those ones as they come up in kind of like my list of what I read, and I'll talk about them briefly, but they are soft DNF'd for now. Okay, the first book I want to talk about is The Christmas Tree Farm, which is by Laura Gilmore. And I have to say, this is the 3rd book I have read in this series. I forget exactly what it's called, but it's basically just like a bunch of really seasonal, cozy romances. They're very easy to read, extremely fast-paced. I view them as kind of like a palate cleanser series. I definitely don't read too heavy into them. Like, they're not the most engaging, wild things you're ever going to read in your life, but they are definitely just like a cozy, cute, nice, wholesome book. And so the first one is the Pumpkin Spice Cafe, and the second one is the Cinnamon Bun Bookstore. Both of those I read last year in 2025. And so first of the year, I read during kind of Christmas time, The Christmas Tree Farm. I liked this one. I actually want to say this might have been my favorite one in the series so far. I don't know. I'm not a big black cat golden retriever trope type of fan, but this one felt like it was done right in so many ways. She takes over this Christmas tree farm and basically is trying to like prove to her family that she can do things on her own. And of course, like, you're taking over a Christmas tree farm, right? Like, that's going to be some work. And so, it's the brother of the Pumpkin Spice Cafe, that FMC. It's her brother who is basically visiting short term. And basically he's just this golden retriever who's trying to help her with her farm. And it's it's seasonal. The found family from the previous 2 books and then like coming into this book, it's just always so cute. I really feel like they do a really good job of setting up also for future books. Like, you can kind of see where things are coming from. So I do think I'll continue on with this series. I really liked it. I gave it a solid 4 stars and it was a good time. Okay, the next book I read was Fearless by Lauren Roberts. I finally finished off the Powerless trilogy, and I have to say this was a pretty solid ending to the trilogy. I don't want to give away spoilers too much because, of course, this is the final book, but I have to say, like, we know Kai and Peyton are going to find a way to be together, right? Like, that's kind of a done deal. For me, it was like, how are we going to deal with Kit and his character and where things started off in this book because of where they left off in Reckless? And I have to say, overall, it was good. It didn't quite go the way I thought it was going to. It was good, but it definitely also made me feel like the last 10% was just like tons of action. And I get that there was some kind of plot and more like scheming type of stuff that it was trying to be shown earlier on and kind of throwing us for a loop in certain areas. But I just felt like by the end of the book, I wanted that feeling to encompass the whole book. And instead it was like the last maybe 15% that felt extremely fast paced. Overall, I kind of rounded it out to 4.25 because I really did enjoy like the fact that it was the wrap up. I feel like trilogies are so nice because you don't really get burnt out by them. So yeah, I really did think it was overall a good ending. It is not my favorite series by any means, but I enjoyed it. I thought it was a good time for a YA romantasy series. It does a good job of being entertaining. Now, this does kind of lead me to my first soft DNF of the year, which was Fearful by Lauren Roberts, which is it's the last novella, which is so interesting because actually when I read Powerful, I think Powerful is probably my favorite book in the entire series, and it is a novella. So that's a little bit, I don't know what that says about me, but that's how I feel about it. It was my favorite one in the series. And then I read Fearful because I loved Fearless and I was like, all right, let's round this out. And I was extremely underwhelmed. Okay, I think the thing that bothered me the most was, so in the very epilogue, literally the epilogue of this book, we hear about Kit, and where this leaves off, honestly, is probably where I feel like it should stay. So I soft DNF'd Fearful because I got about 60% of the way through. Like, it's a novella, it's short. I did read it partly on ebook and partly audiobook, both from Libby. And so I kept checking it out and I would read a little bit and then I would check it out and listen to a little bit. And I was just kind of, I don't know, part of it kind of conflicted for me on how this story went because it's showing pieces of the timeline during Fearless. And I don't know. I soft DNF'd it. Part of me just wants to finish because at this point it's a novella and I'm over halfway through. I should just finish. The other part of me is like, just leave it where it is because I was happy with the ending. So I haven't fully decided yet. If you have finished Fearful, let me know if you thought it was worth finishing. Okay, the next, not just books that I read were the first 3 in the Plated Prisoner series. I finally got started on this and I'm so happy that I did. I actually owned all of the series before even starting it, and it just sat on my shelf. Like, you can see there's the other ones right there. I've had them. I just thought they were so pretty. The premise of the story has always sounded very interesting to me, like the King Midas retelling, the fact that Auron is gold, like it just sounded interesting. Never got into it. And finally, it was during like the holidays, I started seeing some people talk about this series again. And of course, I was just finally like, you know, I need to put off this no more. I need to read it. And so I did. And I'm so excited. Like, I'm currently like 80% of the way done with is it Glow? Yeah, Glow, which is the 4th book. And so I'm loving it so far. I read Guild in like 2 seconds. This is the first book of the series, and it is basically the entire book is set up. I've never read a book where the entire book is set up and not been bored until this book. Like, it was so good, and we don't even meet anybody we care about other than the FMC for the first book, really. Like, Midas, yes, but I'm talking like the key players of the story have not even been involved yet, and it was so good. 4 stars. I loved it. I thought it was so good for what it was. Like, for a setup book, you cannot find a better one as far as I'm concerned. Then I read Glint, which is book 2, and again, I just absolutely devoured this one. I don't even want to say that this was just set up too, but when I say like it was building, like the tension's building, the characters are building, introductions are happening, you're starting to see where things are going. So good. Another 4 stars for me. Like, it was good. It was good, but Gleam is where things got great. This was the first 5-star of the series to me. These two, solid 4 stars, really like 4.5 stars. Like, I didn't want to rate them 5 stars because to me, I just felt like they were so much setup that I was like, this can't be 5 stars. And I'm glad because they definitely gave me a different feeling than this book. However, they're all good. I don't know. I'm so excited to see where the rest of the series goes. I've slowed down a bit, right? Like, I read these 3 just all in one go, but I'm the type of person, I will get bored. If I read and just sit and plow through a series, I'll get bored, especially if it's on the longer side. So 6 books especially the length of the last three. Like, I wanted to kind of pace myself, but I have to say, Gleam is where stuff happens and you see so much going on. It is just action packed like none other. It's so good, and I thoroughly recommend this series. Okay, the next book I read after reading 3 fantasy books in a row, it was kind of like, okay, we need to take a pause, right? Like, I am not a fantasy only reader and I'm not a contemporary only reader. I like to bounce back and forth. Just like I said, I'll get bored with a series if I just stick to one thing for too long. I will get bored with a genre if I stick to one thing for too long. So we bounced to Swift and Saddled, which is the second book in the Rebel Blue Ranch series. I read Done and Dusted, I can't even tell you how long ago, when it first came out, whenever that was. And this is a series by Lila Sage. They are very, very short. Like, just Western. It takes place in Wyoming. She is from Wyoming, the author is. So she does a good job of setting the scene, the vibes, and all that. And I've kind of treated it as like, to me, it's kind of like Chestnut Springs, but way shorter and just like a very condensed, simplified version. Sort of. I don't know, like the found family is kind of the same. The couples are very much the same. I don't know. It's a simplified version of that to me. I definitely would say I enjoy Chestnut Springs a lot more and would recommend it a lot more, but I love the covers of these and I'm just kind of trying to, read them as palette cleansers basically. Now, I listened to Swift and Saddled and I have to say, I knew from the get-go based on the tropes that this book was just not probably going to be my favorite of the series, and it wasn't. It was 3 stars. It was average. It happened, right? Like, I didn't DNF it, but I didn't like plow right through it either. It was definitely one of those where I'm like, okay, like, and it's funny because I was about to say, I know I don't love Black Cat Golden Retriever energy, but then I just said the Christmas Tree Farm did that so well. So I think anything is possible to be liked if done correctly. And for whatever reason in this one, it just fell flat to me. I think because these books are not long enough to really develop like a huge plot or a huge character arc. And so the couple in this, like Ada, she's just grumpy, really for no reason, like in the big scheme of things. And then like Wes is super nice, very acts of service. I think a lot of people would appreciate his character, but at the end of the day, it was what it was. It wasn't the best, it wasn't the worst. It was a palette cleanser and it did its job. The next book, I'm gonna have to insert a clip on one side of me of it because I don't have it on my Kindle or in physical form because I got it from my library, and it is One Golden Summer by Carly Fortune. It is a gorgeous cover, by the way. And I read this book because, again, I heard so many people talking about like, oh, Charlie Florrick is just the nicest little MMC that you'll ever meet in your life. And I was like, okay, whatever, let's check this book out. In hindsight, should I have read a summer themed book in winter? Probably not. That's on me. Would I have enjoyed it more in the dead of summer? Probably, but I read it in winter and it is what it is. It is a good book. Overall, I definitely gave it like a 3.75. If I read it in the peak of summer, maybe it would have been a 4 stars. But overall, it's a good book. It was a good time. It wasn't amazing. It wasn't terrible. It was good. The characters are good. I liked their dynamics, like Alice Everly, that's the FMC. She was likable. She was fine. Her photography career was definitely front and center of the entire book and her entire personality kind of, which just didn't provide like a whole ton of depth to it, but whatever. I loved her grandma actually. The character of Nan was probably my favorite one. And then Charlie as a character, I liked. The whole thing was fine. To me, it was one of those books where the whole book kind of had a vibe until the last 10%. And then all of a sudden we've got like bombs dropped on us left, right, and center where we're finding out all these big things about characters, and it's like, you've been hiding this and what's going on, and big things where it's like, oh, we were just having a good little summer time up until this point. So I don't know, for me, that kind of threw me off in the book. If anything, I feel like there should have been more depth throughout, or maybe just like run it through as a hee hee ha ha time, the whole thing. I don't know. It was good though. I highly recommend it as a summer read. I definitely feel like some books take place in a season and you can look past it, and then other ones take place in a season and ground you in it. This book grounds you in summer. So it's definitely like a July, August read. Highly recommend it for that. Okay, the next book I read, hesitated even including it, but it falls under the two thrillers. It's Pond Water. And this book is, I mean, it's the teeniest thing ever. I think it's really a novella, right? It's 70 something pages, but it was written by this lady. She has some health problems, and I really wanted to just support her as an author because I heard her story and she was using it to raise money. So I supported her for that reason. I finally just wanted to read it because it's been on my shelf for a few years, but I didn't rate this when I read it because I don't really rate novellas unless they're insanely good, just because of how short they are. But also, I didn't want to rate this because I didn't have the best time, but that isn't why I bought the book. So I'm just including it because I read it, but I wouldn't really recommend it unless, again, you just want to support an author. Okay, the next book is also going to be popping up on here. It is Never Lie by Frida McFadden. I got this one on Prime Reading and I've just already returned it and gotten other books, so I don't have like the cover to show you, but I finally read another Frida McFadden book. It has been a long time since I've read one. I think it's been about a year since I read one, and I have to say, every time I read one, they're good. Like, I don't know what it is about her books, but I can guess some things. I never can guess the whole plot. And that just, I don't know. To me, that is exactly what a thriller is there for, right? Like, it's there to keep you in suspense, and you should not see the ending coming fully. And that is forever what her books do. So I read Never Lie, which basically the premise of it is a psychologist or a psychiatrist. She goes missing and she's like presumed dead, right? Well, she tapes all these different patients that come to her house. She actually runs her practice through her house and has all these tapes. And this couple comes to the house and they're like, oh, let's just check it out. Basically, they both have their own apprehensions, kind of weirdisms about the house. And then they find the tapes, and as they're listening to them, you're finding out things about both of these characters, and you're finding out about the plot, and it flashes back to the psychiatrist. It is just an interesting book. I recommend. I definitely gave it a solid 4 stars. It was great. I liked it. If you have a favorite Frida McFadden book, let me know down in the comments because I would like to read more of hers. I've read 2 so far, and they both were just exactly what I want from a thriller. So I'm thinking that I would like to try another one. The next book I read was another one from Prime Reading, and it was Beautiful Graves by LJ Shen. I really enjoy her books. They are so, like, the pacing, I don't know, it just works for me. You know how like some authors, you can't really explain it, but their writing just meshes with you? I typically do like LJ Shen's books a lot. And I read this one, which I haven't heard that many people talk about, but I decided to dive into it because it was on Prime Reading, and it was so interesting. I gave it a 3.75 originally, and I struggle because part of me is like, oh, it's a 4, but then part of me is like, no, I don't know. It was such an interesting book, and I feel like if you read it, you will understand what I'm saying, but basically, she has this character, Everlyn, who goes by Ever, and she's away like in Europe or whatever. I think she's in Italy or Greece or something like that. Meets this guy. They don't get each other's information, but like they like each other. Like they actually vibe and connect. And then like never hear from each other. Well, basically, she kind of goes about her life and ends up meeting his brother. She doesn't know it's his brother. She meets his brother and they get together, and then it's like finding out stuff about the guy, finding out about the brother. Their entire life becomes a disaster. Like the entire book, I would say the first maybe 20% of the book, you're like, things are gonna be fine. Things are gonna be fine. This is gonna wrap up like all books do. And then the last like 75% of the book, you're like, this is a dumpster fire, but I'm continuing to read it in a good way. And that's why I say I go between 3.75 and 4, but I think it's just because so many of the things about this book like frustrated me, but they're meant to frustrate you. So I'm like, that's 4 stars. I enjoyed it, right? Like I read it. But at the same time, like so many of the things I was like, could we just not have that happen? Could that person just not have that happen to them? So I don't know, it's such a unique, interesting book. It is unlike any of the other ones that I've read from her, but again, like very LJ Shen in pacing, in just her writing style, but the plot was definitely different. So I enjoyed that. And overall, I definitely recommend it, especially if you've read some of her other books and you like her as an author, but you kind of want like a different change of pace. Recommend it. All right, we are getting to the best part of this video, which is where I started Boys of Tommen. You guys, I started Boys of Tommen, and I have to say, I can already tell this is going to be one of my favorite series of all time, even though I've only read the first two. And why have I only read the first two? Not because I'm putting off reading the other ones because I'm like, meh. It's because I know that I'm going to love them so much. I just want to space it out, right? Like, we only have so many books to read. And these were so good. I think I could write a thesis paper on just these two books right here alone. They are so good. Both of these, obviously, I don't even think I need to go into it. 5 stars, 6 stars, 7 stars. They're amazing books. Super heavy topics, but I feel like everyone who's heard about Boys of Tommen hears that. It's definitely true. Definitely got some heavy themes, but at the same time, like, so good. Like, for a contemporary book too, I feel like the emotions and the amount of just, I don't know, complexity to the story, it's the type of vibes and feelings you only get from like a fantasy book usually. You know, like usually a contemporary book, especially one where I know these are like upper YA, I don't think they're classified as YA anymore, and I actually think in later books it moved on to being classified as adult. Either way, they're just not books that you would ever think could pack so much punch. And they're long, right? Like, they're chunky books, but at the same time, like, they're so good. I am slightly sad because I have all of the ombre spines, as you can see, of all of the books other than Binding 13. I have that one. I really want to get the original and the ombre at some point. And then I got Keeping 13, which I already have that one. But I got this one just to face out on my shelf because they're so good. They're so good. I want to go through because I read them on my Kindle, and I would really like to go through and like add my annotations and highlights to the physical books. I would just like to read these books again a second time even. So good. It follows in these two, Johnny and Shannon, and then the rest of the books follow other characters. It is set in Ireland at like a private school, and I just have to say, the characters in this, the story, it is so good. The found family in this is so good too. Like, all of the friends and their humor, the way that they deal with their lives, it is so good. So highly, highly recommend this. I don't want to speak too soon because obviously it's just the first two, but I have to say, one of the best. If anything, these two, as like, obviously this is Johnny and Shannon's story. And so if I was just talking about their books, literally one of the best I've ever read. So highly recommend. All right, the last two I read were both solid 3 stars, and it was Beautiful Venom by Rena Kent and Apples Dipped in Gold by Scarlett St. Clair. Now, Beautiful Venom was a book that I just, again, was hearing people talk about. I have read almost every book that Rena's come out with, and so I felt obligated to kind of go down that route. I think it's a trilogy, right? It's like Beautiful Venom, Darling Venom, and I think there's another one. I have to say, I don't know that this trilogy is for me, but I enjoyed it. Again, 3 stars. It was a good time. It's her typical writing. Like, I don't know. I feel like Rena's writing, if you read a lot of it, you read something, you could just be like, yep, she wrote this. Like, I don't know. So I enjoyed it. It was a good time. It's definitely like all of her typical kind of vibes, but yeah, it was good. I would recommend it. I would say if you're looking for it to compare to like Legacy of Gods or something like that, it does not. If you're looking for it to compare to Royal Elite, it does not. But I would say it kind of pairs along with some of her duets, like duologies that she has. It's the same kind of vibe as those. I'm trying to think of what they are, like the Thorn duet, I think. It's very similar to that one as far as, to me, like character development, plot, length, that type of stuff. So I recommend it if you're a Rena Kent fan. If you're just getting into Rena, I think there's some other series of hers that you might like more. But if you're just like, I love Rena and I want to read one of her latest books, yeah, it'll do the trick. And the last book I read was Apples Dipped in Gold by Scarlett St. Clair, and that was another 3 stars for me. I do have to say, I did read, what is it, Mountains Made of Glass or something like that. That's like it's like the prequel novella that she released like a year or so before this. And so I wanted to read this to just kind of continue on with the series, because this one came out and it's the first full-length book in the series. If you have followed Scarlett St. Clair, she has said that like this series is very much so, it's all fairy tale retellings, and she does a really good job at the end of the book describing and talking about how each fairy tale influenced the story, which is interesting. But this, she has said, is just like a fun passion project, not necessarily something she takes super seriously. And you can tell in the writing, it is different than if you've read any of her other series that typically have a lot more complex like themes and tropes and just plot lines. This one is very much so like you're just reading it for the vibes, right? And so I recommend it as a very like almost like a fantasy palette cleanser. Like if you're a fantasy only person but you want a palette cleanser, that would be a good one. It's not super deep, it's not super crazy, it's just a fun time. I would recommend it. Now, those are all the books that I read. I do have to say there are 3 more that I soft DNF'd, and I said I'd get back to those. A Curse Carved in Bone by L.J. Jensen, I started reading. I just think it was not the right time. That book I'm excited to read. I started reading, where is it? A Fate Inked in Blood, and I read the first one. I was so excited for the second one to come out, and then time passed and I kind of just put it on the back burner. That's honestly the only reason I haven't got to it. And then when I went to get into the second one, it just like wasn't the right time. So I soft DNF'd it. I completely want to finish. I actually learned the audiobook on Spotify is read by or it's like with accents, which I think is so fun because this is like a Viking story. And so like a Norse mythology type book. And so it's so interesting when they have like the accents, it really builds the atmosphere, and that's available for free on Spotify. So I will be listening to it and finishing it. And then let's see, my other 2 soft DNFs were Remarkably Bright Creatures, which is by Shelby Van Pelt, and this one I started reading via audiobook as well, and I soft DNF'd it just because I got it on Libby on a loan and I was really busy. I just didn't get to finish it before my loan was due, and then I put myself on the list to check it out again. There's a lot of holds on it, so you can't just renew. So that's the only reason I haven't gotten around to finishing this one. I will be finishing it soon, and I really enjoy the audiobook on this one as well. It is like dual narration, and so we have our main character, the older lady, she has a narrator, and then the octopus has his own narrator. So I do want to finish this. I've heard nothing but good things about it, and so I absolutely want to keep going with this, and I plan to soon. And then we come to the last soft DNF, which I'm gonna try and finish it hopefully by the end of May, which was made by Ali Hazelwood. It's the sequel in her new like Omegaverse series. And I know I have Bride, yep, right here. And so Bride was book 1. I really enjoyed it. Made for whatever reason, it's just not quite reading the same to me. It's a little heavier on the plot, a little less on the characters, and I think I enjoyed like all the different dynamics in Bride more than I'm enjoying them in Mate. So for whatever reason, it's just taking a little bit longer for me to get to it, but at the same time, like I do really enjoy the whole like werewolves, vampires, all of that. It's a fun, I don't know, if you grew up in the Twilight era, right? Like it's a fun time, but it's just not comparing to Bride for me yet. So I soft DNF'd it. I'm going to finish it soon. I don't have that much more left. So I will be finishing it, and I'll give my thoughts on all of these ones that I've soft DNF'd in my next video. Now, we've talked about all the books that I read. I want to give a quick wrap up of like my top reads and my goals for upcoming. So you can probably guess what my top 2 reads are of the year so far. For fantasy, that is going to Fated Prisoners, specifically Gleam, is definitely my top for fantasy. This series I cannot recommend enough. So good. And then for contemporary, you can probably guess I have to give it to Boys of Tommen, Binding and Keeping 13 for sure. And so highly recommend those ones. They've been knocking it out of the park. Both of those authors are so good. And then as far as least favorite of the year, I was kind of going back and forth on what I read, and I was like, which one? I have to say the one that I really struggled to get through the most that I finished is Swift and Saddled. So I do have to say that was a little bit of a disappointment, but overall it was this one. And I'm still going to continue on with this series though, and I'm excited to see what the next one's like. I'm still hopeful. I'm not giving up just because there was one dud. So now for the last thing, I want to address my goal for the year moving forward. My next goal for Q2, which would be April, May, June, I'm hoping to read about 15 books. Now, I read 14 in the first quarter, and I do have to say it depends on the length, right? Like you get some of these thicker books like Boys of Tommen, which have these teeny tiny words on the page, or, you know, even these thick ones like Plated Prisoner. You get these books and you're like, wow, this is going to take me a little bit longer than if I just read Swift and Saddled, right? And so I think that I want to keep it at 15. I wanted to like up it a little bit more, but I think between the softy enoughs that I'm going to finish, right? Those are partial ones that have already been read a little bit. Those should be pretty easy to finish. And then continuing on with some series, I'm hoping to read about 15. That would put me midway through the year at 29 books, and my goal is 50, so I'd be over halfway. I feel like that's a pretty good goal, especially considering I don't have as much time this year as I have had previously to read, so I've lowered my goal and I'm trying to like set my expectations accordingly. So yeah, that is what I've read so far. That is my Q1 wrap up. I hope you enjoyed and stuck around. If you did, give it a thumbs up. Subscribe if you want to see my next video. I will link down below my Goodreads and Instagram and Fable. I did start a Fable as well. So I'm trying to keep all those updated, and I will see you guys in the next one. Have an amazing day.